Karen kicks my dog and slaps me, so I tackle her from behind. Here's what happened. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk on YouTube and hit the bell for notifications. A year or so ago, I had an encounter with an entitled mom. I was walking my dog, Hades, black German shepherd, and sometimes people get scared of him, so I'm understanding about it. He's a big dog. Right now, I'm studying veterinary medicine. My uni is outside of town on a hill, and there are basically all kinds of critters around. We have a little fenced-in area used for classes that the uni lets the dogs run free and play in when the weather allows it. Students are allowed to use it too. There's some very old equipment for dog training. I decided to take Hades there. As a rule, only vet and zoology students are allowed there without a dog, so I took him there and ran the course a few times. Then, out of nowhere, a woman that didn't look like a uni student or a teacher came to ask me to leave because I was scaring her kid. They had no pet with them. Hades was the only dog there. I know all the vet and zoology teachers, but didn't recognize her, which meant the rule applied for her. She shouldn't be there, and certainly the kid around 7 or 8 wasn't allowed in. The kid ran to Hades and started pulling on his ears. Now, Hades knows what kids are like. I have a little cousin. I've trained him to just wait for me to stop them or try to back off. Since he was on a leash and the back off option wasn't going to happen, he just looked my way and waited. I stopped the kid and showed him how to pet him. I didn't touch him. At this point, the mother transformed into a demon. "How dare you touch my son, you creep," and things like that. Hades doesn't like when someone's yelling at me. He's a breed that guards. I know he's not going to attack, but he growls. So when the mother started yelling and flailing her arms around, he started growling at her. That made her even angrier. The kid had gone off to play on the hoops for the dogs. I tried to calm her down and then she slapped me. Now, I'm a good boy. My mama taught me manners. I'm not gonna slap the woman back, let alone in front of her kid. I yelled for the uni security. Hades was still growling. She tried to slap me again, which I dodged this time. And deciding that apparently slapping me won't work, she kicked Hades. That jerk kicked my dog. Security, an old grandpa, came, and she attacked him. I knew him. He was the sweetest old man. I saw red. I grabbed the woman and did a hug from behind kind of thing just so she wouldn't be able to move. The kid was crying. The guard was on the ground. The students from the university had heard the noise and came to see and called the police. She tried to frame me, saying the dog was threatening her son and that he should be put down, and that I hit her and touched her son inappropriately. Now, I'm part of the student council. People know me. The teachers know me. I'm not a violent guy. Police were skeptical. I had a handprint on my cheek. Let's just say she's in a lot of trouble. She shouldn't have been there in the first place. She assaulted me and my dog, plus the guard. I pressed charges for the kick. I wouldn't have if it was just the slap, but she kicked my dog. The nerve of some jerks. Yeah, I gotta say, I'm the same way. If you take a swing at me, I'm gonna be pretty ticked. But if you kick my dog, then all bets are off. Our original poster handled this the best way they could. He restrained her from causing any more damage to anyone without getting overly violent. Thankfully, there were some witnesses nearby, and the police had more sense than to just take this woman at her word. My guess is she just thought it was some kind of regular old park and didn't realize she wasn't supposed to be there. But either way, she did nothing but escalate the situation. You can submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel. The story submission link is in the description below, and if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out easymode, also linked below, and don't forget to subscribe. I had my employees call and wake up my boss every 15 minutes. I supervised a glass manufacturing department. One night we had an issue with a thermocouple that controls the temperature of the glass. Because it was creating nuisance alarms, the operator disconnected it and forgot to notify the next of shift to monitor it manually. We lost control of the furnace for a couple of hours and scrapped product. The plant manager came in that morning screaming and ripped the entire staff a new one. We were trying to explain that the thermocouple needed to be fixed, but he instead continued to yell at us, tell us we were idiots, and told us to monitor it and notify him every time it went into an alarm, or else he would fire us. To further reprimand us, he insisted that we call him at home in the evening every time that temperature went into alarm, so he could ensure we were doing our jobs. What he didn't know and what we knew was that the alarm for the broken thermocouple happened about every 15 minutes. My operator was worried and asked me what he should do, since the plant manager was so insistent. I told the operator to wait until after midnight, then call him and inform him every time it happened according to his direct request. The plant manager came into work the next morning very bleary-eyed and sheepishly told us that we didn't have to do that again. The jerk finally listened to us and we got the problem fixed. You know, sometimes you have to make it a problem for management before they actually decide to fix it. They like to say, oh, just deal with it or fix the problem or do whatever you can to avoid saving them money. But as soon as it becomes a problem for them, all of a sudden they snap their fingers and everything gets fixed. It's kind of annoying, but good to know you can fall back on it. I told my sister-in-law no one cares that she's pregnant. First, some backstory. My cousin, 33-year-old female who I'll call Mary, lost her husband, 32-year-old male, and 2 of her 3 children, 3-year-old female and 9-month-old male in a car accident last week. Her and her daughter, 5, are as you would expect. It's just heartbreaking. Well, today was the funeral. My brother's wife, 26, announced her pregnancy the second they arrived at the house this morning. We were like, okay, congratulations, but please keep it on the down low for today. When we arrived at the church, she kept making gagging noises and rubbing her stomach, saying, I, as a mom, can't imagine what she's going through. They have no kids, so people would look at her and she'd tell them she was pregnant. Afterwards, at my aunt's house, my sister-in-law kept making everything about her. Like if someone was in the bathroom, she would loudly say, pregnant lady needs to pee. She literally told my cousin's sister to give her seat, so the lady with the baby could rest her feet. I ignored her until she came to Mary, stuck out her flat belly and said, me and Isaac just found out I was pregnant, and honestly, we're beside ourselves it could happen to us. Mary broke down. I snapped. Like, who says that to the woman who literally just lost 2 babies? I loudly said to my sister-in-law, no one gives a crap that you're pregnant. Look around. It's not just 1, but 2 babies' funerals. Not to mention the love of Mary's life. Like, I knew you were an attention seeker, but for God's sake, you took the test 4 days ago. Just leave. And left she did, in tears. And my brother called me a fat, bitter jerk. I've gotten phone calls from my brother and sister-in-law's family calling me every name in the book because I made a pregnant woman cry. If I'm being honest though, Mary and my aunt thanked me because it was all making her upset. I just feel bad about making a scene. Yeah, I'm sorry. Time and a place. That's great that you're happy and you want to tell everyone and this is a big family gathering, but you gotta read the room. It's just completely inappropriate, especially bringing it up to the mother herself. I'm sure she'll be more than happy for you after some time has passed. A lot of people don't even announce it this early. To go ahead and do it at 2 children's funerals is beyond inappropriate. My friend was bragging about being able to speak Swedish until I started speaking it to her. I'm Swedish and have lived in the US for about 5 years. I met my girlfriend 3 years ago and hit it off immediately. Last week, we celebrated her birthday, and she had, like usual, invited friends to the party. One of them we can call Linda. The evening was going well. We had talks, games, and fun. My girlfriend and Linda spoke about some new acquaintance from Germany or something, and Linda reached out and said she had Swedish heritage and was really proud because she spoke the language fluently, because her mormor, or grandma in Swedish, taught her. Well, you can imagine I was thrilled, since the only times I get to speak Swedish now is on the phone and online in chats with friends. So in Swedish, I said to her, cool, then we can talk a bit of Swedish if you want. It's been a long time since I could speak Swedish with somebody in real life. She looked at me, and you could immediately tell from her expression that she had no clue what I had just said. She tried to get back on track and said, sorry, you caught me off God, I didn't know you were Swedish. Could you repeat that? So again, in Swedish, I said, yeah, I thought we could talk a little Swedish. She then really stumbled over a few words, which made it obvious that she knew a few words, but definitely not on a conversational level. It was understandable, but not correct. The rest of the night was tense, to say the least. She kept looking at me like I had ruined her plan and made her the villain. I don't even care if she could speak it or not. I just wanted to talk to someone. The evening went by and they all left. The next day, after my girlfriend had a talk with her, she explained that Linda was really mad at me for embarrassing her in front of everybody. I told my girlfriend that I did in no way do that, since all I did was ask her if she wanted to talk to me, and then repeat myself since I thought she didn't hear me the first time. I thought she just hadn't activated her ear for other languages, which happens to me all the time. I get just as surprised and miss out on what's said if someone suddenly speaks in another language that I understand. Now I'm the bad guy apparently. What do you think? Am I the jerk? I mean, it's not like you knew she was lying. She said something and you got really excited about it and tried to join in. You're not a jerk because she threw herself under the bus. Who knows how long she's been telling that lie for, but eventually she's gonna get called out on it. At some point, one day, you're gonna run into someone else who speaks Swedish and actually speaks it. Maybe she should just be happy it was with you and not someone who's gonna rub her nose in it. Customer no longer wants to do business with us, but wants us to give them our recipe. So recently a customer at my work told us they were no longer going to use us to manufacture their products for them. We felt this was quite out of the blue, as they'd used us for 40 years without any problems. We got over this. However, they then asked us to give them the recipe for their product so they could take it to a competitor to make. Now, for context, when they started using us in the 70s and 80s, they provided us with their recipe to make their product the right texture, firmness, and look just how they wanted it. Over the years, we've spent time and money finding new chemicals when certain ones have been discontinued, altering the mix of chemicals so that the products are still how they want them, and developing the recipe further to make it more efficient and provide better results. The way we were making their products now is completely different to how we were at the start. Because of this, my boss was unhappy with what they were asking of us, but complying with their request, he gave them the recipe to their products. The original recipe, that is. It's fair to say they're not happy that they're gonna have to spend their time and money to update it as we have over the last 40 years. I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this one. They're entitled to take their business elsewhere if they like, and as far as I can tell, the recipe did belong to them. Sure, changes have been made over time, and I hope those were communicated as they were made, but maybe they haven't kept an up-to-date record of everything all in one place. Doing something like this really just seems like a petty move. You're costing them a lot of time and money, and all because they decided to go with someone else. Honestly, they have every right to do that. My assigned bridesmaid broke down in tears when I said I wanted to dance with someone else. One of my good friends from college was getting married, we'll call him Tom, to his wife, who we'll call Liz, and he asked me to be one of his groomsmen. I was honored. I haven't seen him in a while because I live across the country. When I arrived to his city, I was assigned a bridesmaid. We'll call her Kelly. Now, Kelly's a lovely woman. However, I think we were only assigned each other because we're both black. Liz starts telling me that we're both single and perfect for each other, but there was nothing to indicate that at all besides us both being black. I should add as well that Liz had a lot more bridesmaids than Tom had as groomsmen. The first night, the entire wedding party went out and it became clear that Kelly wanted to hook up. I just wasn't into her at all, so I kindly turned her down. She then starts interrogating me as to why. I try to give a generic answer, but she starts listing off all of the reasons why we're so perfect together. I end up saying that I don't do the whole short-term type thing, and as we both live in completely different states, there's no future here. She ends up cooling off, but then tells me that she respects me more for that and that I'm a stand-up guy, the type of guy she's looking for. During the rest of the time we're there, one of the other unmatched bridesmaids, we'll call her Jen, starts messaging me privately, and we hit it off. The next day, the wedding ceremony goes well. We have the reception and me and Kelly do our entrance together and then dance together for a bit. After a little while, I go to the bar and Jen and I start to dance. At this point, Kelly's giving me dirty looks. I just ignore ignore it and continue having a good time. All's going well until I'm at the bar. Kelly and Liz confront me and start saying that me dancing with Jen is inappropriate. They start saying she's too young for me and that it looks creepy. For the record, I'm 32 and she's 24, about to turn 25. So I'm like, oh, it's okay, me and Jen are just friends. Liz at this point is angry with me and starts saying that Jen is in college, she's doing her master's, and that this is her wedding and she doesn't want to see that. Then Kelly starts saying that I must have a fetish for white women. At this point I realize there's no logical argument I can make. I tell Kelly and Liz that I really enjoyed the wedding, but I need to go to bed early for my flight the next day. I leave and go up to my hotel. 15 minutes later, Jen leaves early. 5 minutes after Jen came up, we both get kicked out of the wedding party chat. I later found out from Tom that Kelly was crying her eyes out and that it messed up the night for Liz as well. He told me that he isn't mad at me because he told Liz from the start that Kelly isn't going to be my type, but instead Liz really wanted to set Kelly up. At this point, I feel terrible that I made it so Liz wasn't able to enjoy her special night. As for Kelly, I just wish she got the meaning of the word no. Okay, it was stated at the very end of the story, but the whole time I was thinking, this has to have been a setup, right? Maybe this wasn't a racial thing on Liz and Tom's part at all, but rather maybe Kelly just prefers black men. Seeing the opportunity, they tried to set you guys up. It does sound like Tom tried to warn that this would be the case, and maybe Kelly shouldn't have gotten her hopes up quite so high. It sounds like you tried to let her down in the nicest way possible, and at the end of the day, you're still entitled to be with whoever you want to be with. Sounds more like Kelly just has some real insecurity issues. That's not your fault for accidentally touching on those. My brother proposed at my wedding, so I fired him. So a bit of background. I own a plumbing company and hired my brother 3 years ago. He was jobless after the pandemic, and I offered for him to come work for me. He was 22 at the time and is now looking to become a master plumber and start his own business. At my wedding, in which he was the best man, he decided that during his speech he would give us all a big surprise, and decided to propose to his longtime girlfriend. Me and my wife were appalled. We both feel like he stole the shine from our day. Everybody else in our families were so excited and kept taking pictures with her, looking at the ring and things like that. I decided to fire him the very next day. He still doesn't understand why. He claims I'm being selfish and irrational, and our parents agree. They're saying that business should be separate from our personal lives, but I just can't overlook what he did and how he ruined our day. Am I the jerk? Wow, we got back-to-back wedding stories here, guys. Okay, so let's just start off with proposing at someone else's wedding is a big no-no. They've put a lot of time and effort into that day, and it's supposed to be about them. You could literally do it any other time, any other place, and they would be ecstatic for you. You chose the one day where it's not quite gonna fly. This kind of takes us back to the lady announcing that she was pregnant at a children's funeral. There's a time and a place for these things. Some people unfortunately have missed their social etiquette classes. I accidentally exposed my friend's plastic surgery in front of her husband. So I have a friend who, when we were in college, got some work done. It was known to everyone and she never had a problem sharing with people and giving them tips on who to go to, the aftermath, and everything like that. We're now 30 and the whole friend group knows, and whenever she meets new people, she tells them, or so she told me. Yesterday, she invited me to her and her husband's place. We were playing some old videotapes and going through pictures of our memories, just reminiscing about the past and everything, until a photo of her pre-surgery appeared, and her husband was like, "Oh, she looks so different." So I was like, "Oh, it must have been pre-surgery." He was like, "What surgery?" I looked at him and then at her. Then she tried to deflect the situation, but the setting was awkward for the rest of the night. Apparently she dated him and married him, but she lied about getting work done, and he believed her. After I left, I guess he demanded answers, which forced her to tell the truth. She called me today saying that I'm the jerk for exposing her, but I was like, how could I have known you lied to him when you were always upfront about it? Like, if she doesn't mention it herself, she expects me to mention it on her behalf to other people we meet, except her husband. I also told her she invited me to view our old photos. Why didn't she give me a heads up about it? She knew old photos pre-surgery would appear. She hung up on me saying she doesn't want to know me anymore and that I'm a terrible secret keeper. Doesn't really sound like it was a secret, except to that one person. I'm 100% behind you. How were you supposed to know? Also, what's the big deal if she had a little bit of work done? As long as she's happy with who she is, I don't really see how that matters now. It's not like it's something you can go back and undo anyways. But no, I agree. She should have given you a heads up if she knew this was going to be the situation. If you guys are really good friends, I'm sure everyone's going to get over it and move on. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories, or if you want some vibey music to put on in the background, check out Easy Mode. If you like Am I the Jerk, give Am I the Genius a shot. Everything's linked in the description.